Hello everybody. Today is kind of a big day. So this is my 49th birthday, and I think it's kind of a cool number. Like if you know anything about Buddhism, it's the number 7 multiplied by 7. Now I once had a good friend tell me this could be the funnest year of my life. So I like to imagine that's true, right? Because I do have some heavy things to deal with. I've been here for about 2 years since my good friend Rosie died. Just kind of I've been living here without being on a lease. Well, property management called me yesterday, and so today I went down and I completed the application process, and they're waiting to do some kind of a background check and all this, and decide if I'm able to qualify to sign a lease. And so it could be a blessing in disguise, because I was just really dreading having this happen. And so I've been just building up and getting ready for, be honest, I really wanted to deal with this a couple of months ago and just tell them, hey, I'm ready to either sign a lease or move out, but my truck broke down, so I was really scared. But I feel somewhat positive I'm going to get good news. Anyways, with that being said, I will find out later on, and if I can't sign the lease, I will be packing out of this house. And so I was kind of hoping to get through all my stories before I pack out of the house, but we'll see how this goes. And so I've been sharing about my timeline in 2 places: my life, my pictures. But in the JodyVision, I like to talk about the visionary state experiences and other paranormal things that have happened in my life, anything to do with my art life, my music life. And a big part of my visionary state experiences has been that I have been introduced to Bill Lieb. So I've gone over these visions through all my videos. I've done over 100 videos, most of them containing stories like this, where I remember Bill Lieb because I was going into visionary state, but I was also introduced to Rosie and Howard, and they were taking care of him in the vision. So the neat thing is, in 1996 I did meet Rosie and we made friends, but in 1996 I met Bill Lieb, and we just barely said hi to each other. That was it. And then since then I've had more visionary slips where I was tucked into finally connecting. So I tried to write a letter, I tried to go meet them. So I talked about the time I met them in 98 and 99. It just seemed to be a really heartbreaking experience for me, because it seemed like Bill Lee would have been willing to hang out and talk to me, but there were a number of people there that didn't want to let it happen. And I thought it was really to do with some of the local people. And over the years, I think I see a bigger picture, and I could be wrong about a lot of things, because so that's where I kind of want to reiterate that if I talk about my experiences meeting Bill Lieb or seeing him in visions or things that people tell me, it's really just my perspective, my point of view, and my opinion. And I could be wrong about a lot of things, but at the same time, I realize he's somebody that doesn't like people to talk about him. So I want to make it clear that the only reason I talk about Bill is because he was coming into my life through the visionary state. And to me, that is one of the most exciting discoveries I've ever made in my life, that the visionary state is there. And now I'm seeing where it goes back in human history, and I'm seeing where it plays out in a lot of our favorite stories and movies, right? So I love to talk about this, and along with that comes Bill Lieb. But the other issue is, by being introduced to Bill Lieb, and when I talk about all the stuff that's happened over the years, I've been kind of caught in a cycle of trying to connect with him and kind of being pushed back, try to give it a break, and then just kind of getting motivated to try one more time. So that's where in 2005, I think it's because I was just really on rolling rocks. I'm like, I really need to come to terms with all of my problems, and I just feel like a lot of people think I'm just crazy because of the Bill Lieb stuff and my vision stuff. And I just thought, I'm going to try to write him another letter. I'm going to try to make a real nice, intelligent letter. And I bought that really nice purple paper, and halfway through that letter, I bought this album that looked like, maybe Bill Lieb's divorced and onto dating women, and that just could be his girlfriend on there. And I thought, well, if I send him this letter, then she's probably going to read it, right? Because, back in 98, what I think happened was the wife got the letter, and she pretty much was the one to respond, where Bill was polite and friendly and aloof, but she was pretty much the one to respond in her way. And then later on, it's like I don't really get anything out of Bill Lieb, but the person to respond would be that girlfriend. So anyway, so from writing that letter, I had a really interesting dream that I almost got in a fight with somebody, and then I was running, and then I ended up at Bill Lee's house, and I would find out, let me see, the dream happened in 2005, it happened in 2011, somebody showed me where his house was, and I looked at, I was trying to get an address to write them, so I wanted to get the, what you call the postal code, and then, so I discovered that I had dreamt about Bill's house on, but they sold the house, so it doesn't matter where it is. But if we ever do a Rockstar of Vancouver tour, we'll have to take people by there and show people that house, right? At any rate, it's just really interesting because also, so from that dream, I went to the concert in 2007, and a couple of those things unfolded as well. So I didn't have a specific vision about this dream, but I think back in '98 when I went to see my dad around Christmas, I did a visionary slip where he had this really long story. He had been reading this book that, you know, he didn't say, but it was about me and Bill pretty much, and it had a lot of information, and as life goes on, I remember that stuff, and to this day, the stuff he said in that book is still unfolding, which keeps it interesting. At any rate, I did try to see them in 2006. They quit tour with Frontline Assembly since '99. It took that long to get another chance to see them. And so in Denver, they played at the Ogden, and I came, and I think I had a really good time. You know, we had a good mosh pit. And then after the show, I brought a letter to give to Bill, just, you know, saying, you know, because I wasn't sure if he got the purple letter because I didn't hear back. So I was trying again, you know, just saying, you know, when I came back in '98 and '99 to see them, you know, it went really bad, and I'm very sorry whatever happened there. But I really wanted reconciliation. I don't want it to be like that again. And so I caught him coming out of the theater with some lady alongside him. It looked like they were just marching on down to the hotel. And I had my bicycle, so I just hopped on it, and I said, hey, you know, we're all going to the Rock Island. You coming? And he said, yeah, you might come over there, you know. And I said, you know, I can arrange for a ride. And the lady's like, I'll give him a ride. So I went over to the Rock Island, and I waited all night, and Bill never came. But so it kind of seemed like when they came back in 2007, we made amends for that night, and we all went to the church. And it was like, I would say that would be like one of the last chances I really had to visit Bill Lee, would be 2007. 2008, I saw him one more time, but didn't really have a chance to visit. So I would say 2007 was the last chance I had a chance to visit Bill Lee, you know, to like, not just see him at the autograph signing. Anyways, so we went to that show, and we had a really good mosh pit. It was back from the stage, and there were a lot of people in it, and I think everyone had really good, and believe it or not, there is such a thing as moshing etiquette. It's a lot like sparring etiquette. And so I also go to Shaolin Kung Fu, and we have sparring etiquette that we do not hurt each other, and if we knock each other down, we help each other up. It's just like sparring, except that we're slam dancing, and so you kind of use your shoulders, you know, you can push each other and stuff, but every once in a while somebody kind of, you know, throws their hands in the air, or they accidentally elbow you, and so accidents can happen just the same. Well, there was this one guy, he was a big guy too, and he had I don't know, he just seemed like a bully, like he wasn't moshing right, he was, you know, kind of pushing people in the wrong way. I couldn't see exactly what he was doing, but it was just so intuitive. I just didn't like his vibe. I just felt like he was a bad mosher. And next thing you know, the guy was right in front of me. So, you know, I've only had a few altercations in my life, you know, where I've actually seen my kung fu come into play. And each time I can think of 3 good instances. So I talked about this party I went to back in '99 into 2000. It was kind of an end of the year party. It's just really interesting that I saw something like my Tai Chi and Pakwa came into play. Back in 2002 when I was a cab driver, I got in a fight with my customer, and I did block past the knee and press. But this time, you know, I had somebody like this in front of my face, and I don't know what he was trying to do to me, but my hands came right up, and I went just like that. And you know what that's called? That's grasp the sparrow's tail. It's part of a sequence that goes like this and like this. So I came up, and I always thought grasp the sparrow's tail was kind of to get inside somebody and hit them, and I had no idea this was an application. So somehow I have this big dude just like this. My hands came up, grasped the sparrow scale, and what it did is it made him turn around and sit down at my feet. Now, I had been training with Roger Brockman, learning Kungfu Silat, and to him, that's the best place you can put someone. If you can make them sit down at your feet with their back to you, that's like the worst place they could be. So if I wanted to finish the guy, like if this was a real fight, you know, he would have lost the fight. But, you know, I was just being friendly and playful. I didn't know what he was trying to do to me, but I just kind of pointed and laughed as I walked off, saying, "That's what you get." And so I heard later maybe some other people pointed and laughed at him too. And so I just went back to moshing around and having a good time. And next thing you know, somebody hit me like right here, kind of like a non-vital point, you know, like I do nunchucks, right? I've been training with these for years, and you know, when you try new things, sometimes you hit the back of your head, sometimes the front of your head. Thankfully, I haven't hit my face like that. But when he hit the back of my head, it was like getting hit by one of these really hard. And I thought, well, it could have just been an accident, you know, because I figured we were done. You know, I forgot all about him. I just went on with my night, and I think he probably just came up and punched me, you know, so it was probably his knuckles. I think he punched me in the head. And so I was just walking out, and I was just kind of rubbing it out, and I was kind of contemplating, I wonder if I should go to the bartender and get some ice for this, you know, and just try to rub it out and come back and wash. And so, some young punk-looking boy came over. I guess they call those guys skinheads. You know, they shave their head and keep their hair short, and they dress a certain way. And this young skinhead comes over and says, you know, he saw what just happened to me, and he said, if you want, we can take care of that. And I said, no, it was just an accident. He goes, that was no accident. We saw that. I said, no. And so after a while, it's like everyone dispersed, and I could see security down there with flashlights looking the guy over, and he was sitting on the ground and his nose was bleeding. So I'm thinking, well, they just gave him a bloody nose. I kind of, you know, they punished him for that. But, you know, something that happens with mosh pits is people that mosh, some people like to take the role of security, you know, and if they see somebody in the mosh pit abusing the other dancers, they will take it upon themselves to punish them. So they get their ass kicked, yo. And so that's why some venues don't allow moshing, because sometimes it can escalate. Like, you know, like if two people are sparring around, like in high school, let's say there's a couple guys that have done boxing or wrestling. If they start sparring around, the teacher needs to say, no, this is not, you know, this is not the gym. We do not want this to escalate. So we're lucky they let us mosh at these places because of things like this. But I'd say most of the time when I go see Frontline Assembly or any band like that, we usually have a good, intelligent mosh pit. It's really the first time I've ever seen a person get punished. Now, that dream I told you about when I wrote the big purple letter, I had a dream. At first it seemed like me and Billy were walking down the sidewalk, and then I was in this Total or Conoco or something, and the guy working there was like a tall guy with the dark hair and a mustache, and he had on a polo shirt with a shirt, like a collar. And he wanted to fight me, and I tried to turn away, and when I looked back, he was on the ground bleeding, just like in reality. But then in my dream, that's when I ran off and I went to Bill Leeds' house. And at the end of the dream, it seemed like me and Bill were climbing into this big white van. Well, that big white van was my friend Chris Smith's van. So when we went to the show that night, you know, Chris came in that van, and it was exciting because, you know, when we all went to the church, I was able to get the guitar player Jared to ride along with us to the club, so I could chat with him a little bit and have the opportunity to share a bowl. And then on the way back from the show, I got Jeremy Ankle to ride with us in the van, and I thought it'd be fun to turn him on to some of the music I listen to. And of course, he didn't seem very interested, so I just really wanted to smoke a bowl with Jeremy and get to know him a little bit, because I prophesied that Jeremy might be the one to help put me and Bill Lead together someday. So I don't know how Jeremy was supposed to help us, but I just had the inclination to try to get to know him and see what happens. And so then there's the guy in the mosh pit. So now the thing about that guy in the mosh pit, I think I saw him back in '98. So after the show in '98, we're going behind the theater looking for the band members. And you know, I just wanted to go back and talk to Bill Lieb, and then we find out we're all going to the Cafe Netherworld. Anyways, there was that, I think that same guy was yelling at me and Chris going, "See you later, groupies," like that. And I think I seen him in that same guy, so the next year, I heard Bill Lee was in town that summer, and I'm just going to say that around that time, I saw somebody that looked like it might be Carol Ann talking to that same person. And she said a few things to him, and he started cussing me out. He's like, "Get out of here, you piece of shit. Don't you ever come back here again." And, you know, and I thought I recognized her, but I still didn't know who she was. I just started thinking, well, maybe she's friends with, you know, the people that live around Denver, you know. And so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, after all these years, you know, like 2008, somebody told me, you know, that there was this lady named Bree. She was trying to hook up with Bill. She didn't get with Bill, so she went on to Kevin Key. So I thought, well, that makes sense, you know. So she was probably there to get in the middle of that, and to top it off, I wrote a letter too. And so I kind of felt like she was there to, like, keep us from connecting to Bill. And so, like, that big guy, you know, like, so she must have, you know, I don't know if he's like, he could be like a stagehand or some type of a, you know, person that works around the, you know, the theaters, you know, like a sound guy or something, you know. And so maybe he had the privilege of getting to know her and her filling him in on the problem. And that's why I had him calling me a groupie. That's why I had him cussing me out from across the street. You know, I was just walking home, and I was like catty corner. I was like way over there, and these guys were, you know, talking about me. Next thing I know, this guy's cursing me out, and I'm just thinking, well, the guy that hit me in the mosh pit. Well, if that's the same guy, then maybe he was carrying those same sentiments, you know. So this could be something that goes all the way back to '98 to him, you know, deciding to be my enemy and thinking it's all right to hit me in the head like that, you know, to avenge whatever Carol Ann's issue was, right? So that's why I bring it up. It's like, you know, I kind of think, you know, when I went to see them in '98, I really didn't deserve what I got. And that's where it kind of like, you got to be careful about this whole, I think the music industry and people in the industry toss words like, you know, psycho and stalker around. And so I felt like I got labeled all at once that night because I thought I was supposed to go up to their party. I thought Bill was telling us where they're going, so I was going up to their party, and I got labeled a stalker. In '99, I had these people chasing me down the street, going, there she is, like they were punishing me for that, and now I got this guy punching me in the head. But you know, I didn't really make the connection at the time. This is all kind of in hindsight, so this is my perspective and what I think happened and how I feel about it, regardless of what's really going on. Okay, so, you know, and also I do have those visionary slips, so maybe it never happened. Maybe, you know, Carol Ann was never out there with the guy yelling at me, you know, maybe it never happened, and it's just a coincidence, you know, that, you know, this person was going to hit me in the audience. So sometimes stuff gets taken back and sprinkled, and so maybe he never said that, but like, so that's the picture I'm getting, is like I'm being punished because I wanted to talk to Bill, and so I got punished all these years, you know, because people don't like it. People think it sounds crazy and all this stuff, so I feel like I've been in this vicious cycle of trying to, like, see the truth of my visions, because I take it seriously enough. You know, I think, you know, stuff like that doesn't happen just for fun. It happens for a reason. It's very serious. And at the same time, you know, I just want to give him a chance to get to know me and test him a little bit and see how he responds and stuff like that. So anyway, so we all went to the church, and he had this lady named Jeannie pick him up, and I'm kind of wondering if she's the same one he had last year that was escorting him to his hotel. She was going to be his driver. This year she had like a really hot little red sports car. You know, she looks like a cheerleader, you know, straight bangs, long hair. And so, and just as I was talking to Bill, he was kind of acting shy and walking away like he was just trying to go back to his bus. But then she comes up and she's like, "Hey, remember me?" And they do a big hug, and I'm just like, I'm pretty sure Bill could see me over her shoulder, because I was like, oh no. And then she invited him to go with her. So they got in that little red car, and then me and Chris are sitting and waiting in that white van, and then we all went to the church. And so let me tell you about that. So I talked about this in my last video of my life and my pictures, because that's a big part of my life. I made it to this concert. So this is the picture. So I had a good friend running around with his camera. He likes to take pictures of people at the club, and I said, please take our picture. So I sent this picture to my dad, and I got a lot of glare on this, but I didn't expect him to print these up, and I didn't expect him to frame this, but he was really happy for me, because, you know, I talked about Bill Lieb a lot, especially because of my visions and stuff, you know. And so I think this is really cool. Adrian, the drummer, did a really nice picture with me, so that, I think, makes us look like a team. In fact, after we took the shot, somebody came up and asked me if I was part of their band, and so I confided in him. But, you know, I've always really wanted to join this band, you know. That's kind of what I was looking into, and I think I said something to them before the show about, you know, I want to join the band. And Adrian was telling me, well, Jeremy's got an organ you can play. And so, you know, when we all went back to the tour bus and smoked another bowl, you know, Bill went off with that lady. And so we took Jeremy down so I could visit with him. And so we all smoked. Me, Jeremy, Chris Peterson, and my friend Chris Smith. We just did a small visit. We didn't really have a lot to say. And I was just telling them, you know, after the church, we all went to Cafe Netherworld. And it was after hours. And they were kind of letting us know we're not really supposed to be here, and we don't want anyone to call the cops or bring any attention, you know, or they could get in big trouble, because they were letting a lot of people come in and have drinks and stuff after hours. And so anyways, when we were all saying our goodbyes, I said, now remember, we weren't supposed to be in that place. That's our little secret. But then Chris Peterson goes, Jeremy has a little secret in his pants. And I thought, you know, that kind of coincides with earlier, you know, like Adrian was saying, Jeremy's got an organ you can play. And then when we were on the dance floor and I was trying to talk to Bill, he's like, Jody, just go over there and dance with Jeremy, you know. Like even Bill was trying to match us up. But then when we were on the dance floor earlier at the church, by the way, I kind of went over and I danced by Jeremy a little bit. And then, so this is where, you know, I don't know if this is reality or if I'm going into visionary state, but like, so I'm kind of skipping around, like, so now I'm back to the middle of my story. We're like, okay, now we're at the club again, you know, before the end of the night, before the comment and the joke. And Bill's like, why don't you go over and dance with Jeremy? And so those two were dancing, and it's like he was facing me and looking over her shoulder, and I swear he looked me right in the eye, and he said, I finally got the divorce. And he voiced it loud enough for me to hear it over the music and everything. And I felt like that was him acknowledging that he did get my letter, because in my letter I explained, you know, I think the stuff that happened leading up to like 99 into 2000, you know, because I really wanted to tell him how all the stuff led up. And I think I told him the thing that really got my attention was that 99 into 2000. And so the interesting thing is some of the stuff comes true, and sometimes I get confirmation, but he's one of the few people that have been able to give me confirmation, because it's like the social dynamics, you know, I'm not supposed to be able to just go up and make friends with a rock star, you know, and plus he's also super defensive, and he really doesn't like to let a lot of new people into his life, you know, so he tries to keep a good professional distance with his fans. And so it's been very difficult to get any form of confirmation out of Bill, but this one time, I almost felt like he was letting me know that he did get my letter, and that I was right about something, that I said that in the letter, I prophesied that he would leave his wife for a much younger woman, which is the woman that was on the picture. Oh, here we go. I'm in mirror vision, but this is the one. I prophesied that he was going to leave his wife for a much younger woman, and so she is like, she's born in 1983, so she's younger than I am. So I was always afraid, well, Bill's not going to like me because he's too old, or, you know, Bill's not going to like me for this, and Bill's, you know, so all these years, you know, I mean, I've thought about contacting Bill, like, even when I was, like, 6 years old, you know, seemed like me and him went out and we had our own conversation in the visionary state, and that's when he explained, you know, by the time you meet me again, I'll already be famous. And so I thought at that moment, as a 6-year-old, I was already thinking, well, if he's going to be famous by the time I meet him, he's probably not going to be, you know, somebody that I can talk to, you know. I don't know how we're going to make friends if he's going to be famous, you know. So even when I was 6 years old, so like 1993, this again, it's in mirror vision, but this is the magazine that was released in 1992. It was when they were, it was after they released the tactical neural implant, you know, so I had another visionary slip. My dad said, hey, isn't that your little friend from down the street? And that's when it got my gears turning, and I started realizing, well, you know, it could be very much, but he's too old. And I could hear it in his voice. I could see it in the picture. He's too old. You know, I hate to put it like that, but yeah, to be Billy, only because Billy always appeared to be just a couple years older than me. So like kind of like in my last couple of visions of him, you know, he told me, you know, his real age is 30. So in 1987, he was 30 going on 31. But he had to appear to be close to my age, you know, so I think it's a really fun and colorful story when you look back at what happened and how it tricked me into talking to Bill. And so, you know, so in ways it's affected me to this day, and it's something where like I kind of want to bring this cycle to an end, you know, of me just sort of feeling uncertain and not knowing what's going on. And so all these years, you know, I've been just trying to share my piece with him and kind of test him out and try him out and see what he does, how does he respond to it. And, you know, because it's like I've had plenty of time to think about him, but he barely even notices me, right? So I just feel like, you know, I just haven't had any other way to go about it than to just try to write him. And then when we went on to Facebook after, you know, I moved to Montana, and just everything I could do, just be like, here I am, you know, I just want you to know how I got here, what I'm thinking, and give you a chance to get to know me. Well, so one of the things that I bear in mind is like in those visions is when Billy said, you know, he wanted me to hug him, and I really didn't want to do it. And he said, come on, Jody, I really need you to do this. And so I hugged him, you know. So back in 1982, and I was being introduced to Bill Lieb in the Visionary State. He absolutely had to get me to hug him. It wasn't a big hug. It was just kind of like passable as a hug, but it was a really big relief because I really didn't want him to try to kiss me next. But he did get a hold of me in 1987 in Visionary State, and that's the one where he did kiss me. He kissed me, and he taught me how to get into the music business. And so some of the things I remember him saying is, please, whatever you do, don't forget who I am, or you may never see me again. And like, I need you to, it's like, I need you to listen to me. I love you very much. And let me see, how else did he say it? And a couple of different times he's like, I really need you to listen to this. Do your best, be on your best behavior, stay out of trouble, this type of thing, you know, just back in 1983 over at Bill and Stella's, you know. So it's just really interesting, you know, like how real he is in the Visionary State. And the biggest demand was, please don't forget who I am. And that's where it's like, it's been really hard to forget him, because like all these different points connect. Like the very fact that when Bill does pictures, okay, let me see if I can impersonate him. He tips his head all the way down as far as he can go and still look as straight ahead, right? So he always does this thing with his forehead. Like it just makes you just want to go, you know? And that's how I remember Bill Lieb. So in 1982, the very first time I seen him in my visions, I come in this place and he's sitting on the floor with his legs crossed, and I sit down in front of him, and there he is just like that. And so anytime he said picture of him like that, it just brings me back to that point in time. So, you know, anyways, thinking, well, I need to test Bill Lieb on this. So I said, Bill, can I give you a hug? And he said, sure. And I was really surprised, you know, because last time in 2003, I was trying to ask him for a hug, but I just didn't have the courage to, like, say the whole sentence. I don't know if he thought I was trying to get him to kiss me or something different. I just wanted to hug him. But this time I got him to do it with me. Not do it, but give me a hug. And it surprised me, and I just put my arms around Bill, and he just gave me a nice big hug. And I just figured, you know, if he remembers everything, like the 98, 99 stuff, if he remembers the mind phaser stuff, if he got that big purple letter, it was such a big relief, you know, that he probably knew I was that person, and he still gave me that big hug. So I've been having all these people giving me grief for talking about Bill Lieb so much on my end and on his end, you know, like from the mind phaser and stuff. And then but he himself didn't seem to have a problem with it. In fact, it was his pleasure to give me a nice big hug, you know. So again, I tried back in 2008. I thought, you know, I'll try one more time to meet this guy, and if he, you know, doesn't want to visit with me, then I'm gonna have to quit trying, because it really it was probably the best time I ever had, you know, going to see him and seeing his band. And I'm really glad we made that that connection, because that's the last time I think I would have been able to see them with Adrian and Jeremy, which I really like those guys. And but I'm like, I gotta quit doing this. This is like, it's really breaking my heart, you know. And I feel like you know, what Bill's showing me with this woman is like, I don't talk to people like you. I talk to people like this, you know. It's like, she's the rock star's girlfriend type, you know. So I really hated her so much, and all I could think about was like, why would you even want to be with somebody like her? She's not even fucking cool. It's all about appearance, all about social conditioning. So 2008, you know, I came to see him again, and that woman was there. So I hugged him goodbye. I was like, this is it. We have to hug each other goodbye. And again, he gave me a nice hug. It was like, it wasn't one of these wimpy little hugs. He made me feel like it was a good, sincere hug. And so I asked him, I said, you know what, Bill, I really need to talk to you, you know. And I felt like I would push one more time for a chance. And he goes, okay, I'll tell you what, wait right here, and I'll be back as soon as I can. And he didn't come back. And I went to the tour bus and knocked, and I saw him peek out between the curtains, and then he had someone come out and tell him he's gone, that he caught a flight. So I felt like he had somebody lie to me for him. So I felt terrible. And then the next year I went to Vision Quest because I was really trying to come to terms with it. This is like, I need to get over this person and move on. So anyways, I had to share a couple of comics. I probably made this after I came up here. I did another one before I left Denver, and I don't know if I threw it away, but I had to do another one. I'm just thinking, what on earth did these people want with Bill Lieb anyways? Like, what does she think she's going to get? She's like, oh, maybe your own hot, sexy rock star. So, like, you know, Bill, he sings these really spooky songs, you know. So just for fun, you know, I figure he likes these pretty rich girls, and along with that, they like little dogs, so I gave her a poodle. That's like the ultimate symbol of being the pretty rich girl. But just for fun, I also gave him a Darth Vader action figure. Now, that's what I was thinking, maybe if I do make the connection with Bill Lieb, I'll always have him there to serenade me, right? You know, it's quite the opposite. Anybody or any animal that lives with me, I serenade them, but I'm not a great lyricist. If you're going to live with me, one of two things, I'm going to sing to you, and I really hope you find it amusing, right? So, anyways, I feel like I'm quite the entertainer myself, but it's just funny to think, what do people want out of Bill Lieb? Do they really think, so, but, I'm pretty sure, there's a lot of great things about Bill that a person would want in him, but I just feel like the people that I've known, at least with Jeannie and the girl on that record there, I just felt like, they think they want him, but they really don't know what they're asking for, and I don't think they really appreciate what they've got either. So that's why I'm gonna kind of rip on them just a little bit, So just remember, this is just in good fun and for laughs, and I really hope that if Billy watched this, I mean, I don't want to say anything on here I wouldn't want to say to him or allow him to hear me say. And so when I make stuff like this, I've sent these to him myself. In fact, I think I shared this back in after I got to Montana, and his girlfriend Amelia thought it was so funny. She gave him a little nickname. So let me show you the cartoon quickly, and I'll explain. So I had to do this in two. Now I used to work at a gift shop down in Big Fork, and I would just sit at the desk and doodle. So I came up with some of this stuff. And so Bill Lieb gets naked. I figure if this is all you're looking at, you're just thinking, man, I can't wait to see his you-know-what, right? So there's Bill and his pretty rich girlfriend, and she just thinks she's so lucky. But look at that shit-eating grin he's got on his face, right? And then she's just, I am so lucky. So I used to read a lot of Mad magazines, so I kind of like to think that they've influenced my, humor and my style a little bit, So that just seems like the kind of picture they would do, like the way I do the motel. Anyways, so they get in the hotel room, and there she is, just feeling so lucky. Now she's seeing Bill Lieb getting undressed, just thinking any moment you're going to see his naked body. But then she's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is like his skin suit's flying out the door, and she's like, what's that? And it turns out that this was not just a singing voice. Bill Lieb has been half man and half dragon all along. In fact, that's probably where he gets his talent. I'm sure all you guys think that it was hard work and discipline. Well, when you're half man, half dragon, you have natural born magical gifts and all that stuff. So first thing goes down is the dog, and then there she goes. Now, I did a video, if you look at my playlist, that are my cartoons. I think I did one I made love to an alien, and then more of my cartoons. So you can go back and see these and others if you're curious. I have a childlike sense of humor. I know this stuff's kind of silly and immature looking stuff, but it makes me laugh. And they say laughter is the best medicine, right? Well, I've been a hurting fool, and I need to laugh it off. So, I try to share that laughter with Bill. Like, I don't want him to feel like I'm just, like, complaining. Like, I'm really butthurt because this happened. I'm really butthurt because that happened. That's a fact. I was really butthurt. But at the end of the day, I still appreciate him. He's somebody, like I did another video, I think someone who I value highly, that I've got all these pictures up here. I've covered up some of the other ones, but let me show you here. I'll take these down just to explain that some of the most important people to me, and I don't think I even have them all up here. So he's just by default, it's like he's never really done anything for me. Doesn't really go out of his way to talk to me, but just I made that connection in visionary state. But here in reality is my Shaolin family. So Master Tay is the Chinese, and this, I haven't been to Shaolin in a long time, but these people remember me now. It's kind of neat that I have these little picture frames because, see, in the visionary state in 1982, Rosie was the person taking care of Billy. I got these cool little pictures of them to commemorate, you know, particularly to commemorate 1993. That's when I first thought maybe I should contact Bill. So that's why I'm saying, you know, it's been a really long process for me, and it's probably, up to this point, the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life is to be able to, like, reach out to Bill and try to share all this stuff about me. And so, like, you know, at least having him give me that big hug kind of let me know, like, hey, Jody, I don't have a problem with you. In fact, I think he even appreciates that I cared about him enough to do all that stuff. And, you know, even if he really doesn't have much more to offer, you know, then at least it's like, yeah. And so that in itself should be a relief. But I just felt heartbroken because I just feel like, you know, I'm never going to make the connection with this guy, and I need to find a way to move on. So that's where in my next story, I'm going to talk about how I went to Vision Quest. So, you know, the Native American people here in the Plains Indians, and probably all across the North American continent, go into visionary state very seriously, and anything like dreams and premonitions, they realize that's how the spirit world communicates to us. And I just thought it'd be the right thing to do to find help, because I don't want to go to like a you know, like a regular, you know, psychiatric doctor or whatever. Like, I just don't have faith in it, to be honest, you know, because I mean, I know I probably have some stuff they could help me on, like probably just dealing with stress, anxiety, and overall issues like that, mental health issues. But I feel like when it comes to the visionary state stuff, there's really nobody in the world that can help me with this. So I wanted to go to a medicine man, and I actually got a lot out of that. So I didn't really get to resolve my issue with Bill Lee, but I did get a lot out of that. It made me understood so many things about my life and all the things that I want to learn from or apply myself to. And then and so I went to Montana, or I'm here now, because Rosie's also the only person who listens to me and believes me and understands what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying, okay, most people want me to shut the fuck up. Well, they want me to shut up, move on, forget about it, or actually I should say most people see a major problem with this, and it makes me feel really bad that so many people are telling me they think that something's wrong with me because I've shared. However, Bill Lieb has never said anything to me like that. He's the only one that's ever said, you know, like, or, you know, maybe the only one that hasn't really said anything against it. And then there's Rosie. Like I said, I moved up here to stay with her. But then there's Master Tay. I told him about my stuff, and he wrote this book, The Legend of Wa, the Grand Master. Okay, so this is a story about his life. Now, Rosie, of course, I've mentioned before that the reason I talked to Rosie, she's been to visionary state. She's a UFO contactee. All kinds of cool things have happened in her life. And I think her life has been a lot crazier than mine. And she was a very intelligent and educated woman, you know. She wasn't just some weirdo, you know. And there's some other people I've met up here that are also very professional people that have gone into visionary state and have spent, you know, years and years of their time, you know. So that would be my friend Valdine, a very professional, you know, you would never think she was some crazy weird person. And Master Tay, you know, he's definitely, you know, different. And a lot of people respect him. He's been in the States teaching since '94. He was going to college to be like a nuclear physicist, and since he had been doing kung fu all these years, he decided to just teach kung fu instead. So it's so much fun to talk to Master Tay because he understands what I'm talking about. And, you know, when I told him about my Bill Lee visions, he was really hoping, you know, and I've talked to him later, he was really hoping, like, did you guys talk yet? Like, you know, he hopes that we make the connection. Now, this is somebody that was like my sex partner when I was 22 years old, and I was mad at him because I wasn't sure that he was a real friend. But when he let me tell him about my stuff, he sent me his movie script. The movie he was trying to make was turned into pretty much the story in this book. So he gave me a free copy of his book because I'm probably one of the few students he's ever had that comes to him with these issues, that I've been going into visionary state and I don't know what to do because I've been having such a hard time getting through to this guy. And he's just like, well, you know, my visions always come true, you know, so I really hope this works out for you, Jody. But then when I go to Bill Lieb, like, he doesn't really give me any feedback, but he's just like, hey, thank you for your messages. You're always welcome to, you know, write me anytime, that type of thing. So I feel like Bill's telling me he doesn't really have a problem with me, and on some level, maybe he appreciates hearing from me, just for the fact, regardless of the content of my messages, regardless of what I'm saying, he appreciates me for the fact that I care about him that much and that I think about him that much, and so I do appreciate that. But after all these years, I felt like I've just been getting nowhere, and I'm at the point where I'm just like, I'm ready to quit. And I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying not to cry. But I just wanted to tell my story about, so going to see, the last time I had a chance to really visit with Bill Lee is 2007, like, so they came like 3 years in a row, like 2 times FLA, 1 time Delirium, and every single time he's got this escort. I don't know if it's a paid escort, because I told my dad about it. I said, you know, she could be just a paid escort, and maybe that's like an act, but you know, I just saw her going, why didn't you call me back? I called your number, you never called me back. And it seemed like, it made me feel like this is somebody that was trying to be his girlfriend, and I thought, well, maybe, you know, he seemed interested in her, and now she's frustrated because he ghosted her. And I'm just thinking, you know, people like that, you know, guys keep people like that for a sex partner. He didn't really want to get involved with her, but hey, she keeps coming back to the shows. And so that's the impression I'm getting, you know, and especially after I, you know, moved to Montana and got in touch with, well, she got in touch with me actually. So, I mean, I do want to share about all that stuff, but it's really hard to kind of talk about this without sounding rude, you know, so I wanted to be respectful and things like this, but without, you know, further ado, the only reason I talk about Bill Lee is he was in my visions, and now he's been part of my life inadvertently. And you know, as a consequence of meeting him, I think, you know, this is somebody who, you know, because the visions ask me, do you love this person? Absolutely, that's the easy part. Yeah, I can, you know, I definitely think I love him, and you know, but I don't really know him that closely, so you know, I think the problem that people like that face is a lot of people don't really love him, but they love the idea of him. And so that's where, you know, I want to be clear to myself that I don't just love the idea of it, and I don't just want some visionary state crap tricking me into thinking that I, you know, actually care about somebody who, like, okay, so once I get to know him, I'm just like, I was wrong. So it's something where, to me, in my heart, I think this is somebody, like, if they want to stay in touch with me, you know, if he wants to get to know me, you know, at whatever level, because, you know, it's like, that's why I'm explaining, you know, this is my relationship with Rosie has been like. So in my upcoming videos, I will be talking about what my relationship with Rosie was like, because I feel like, you know, Rosie, I came to Rosie thinking I just want to get away from the music scene, so I will quit going back to Bill Lieb and seeing all the stuff that makes me angry. And I was just thinking, you know, it's time to put him and all the stuff behind me. And actually 2009, I was sitting there crying, I'm never going to see him again. And the very next year, I was talked into going on Facebook, so I feel like I actually got a lot of more work done trying to figure out who he is and find a resolve with it. And I had to take a long break from it for some reasons, and then tried to come back again 5 years later, and I realized, you know what, this is somebody I definitely care about, and I even want to let him know myself that he's welcome to spend the rest of his life with me. It doesn't even have to be romantic. It's just, you know, listen to, you know, kind of what I've been through with Rosie and Gary. I feel like those guys have taught me how to be a good friend and companion, and the reason they're special to me is because living with them, you know, they were always easy on me. They never had high expectations of me, and we just helped each other out where we could. And it's been the most peaceful time I've ever had in my life, and I just feel like I don't want to ever go live with another person again unless it's just as cool as living with Rosie and Gary was, right? And so I don't know, like, if Bill Lieb's just as cool as they are. Like, let's say I got a chance to go live with him, what would happen? I personally think that it's really hard to say, you know. It's just like, it's really scary to think, you know, what if I just said, like my vision said, one day he's just going to show up and ask me to marry him. Well, that's really scary, because I'm going to say yeah, and then I'm like, what if it sucks, you know? So it's something where, like, I have to be able to say at this point in my life, you know, what do I think of that, really? Be honest, I kind of think it's going nowhere, and probably, you know, I kind of think, you know, I'm not really getting any final conclusion, but if I have to draw the conclusion, I have a very bad feeling I'm never gonna see this person again. So, you know, once they retire from making music, they're gonna disappear, and I'm never gonna hear or see them again, you know, hear from or see them. And but there's a very small chance, you know, there's this tiny little glimmer of hope, like, that I'm right about this. A very small glimmer of hope, right? But I decided this is the year that, it's kind of funny, they did an album with Kevin Key, side record called Endgame 2024. So that could be, what they're thinking of world affairs. But that's kind of how I feel about my personal situation, regardless of their record. I saw that title. I'm like, that's what I'm calling it, Endgame 2024, because I just really want to end this cycle of being uncertain. And I'm just thinking, with all the information I've given Bill and everything I've said, he should have enough information to make his decision. And if he just doesn't answer me, or if he just doesn't, have a comeback, then this is somebody I'm never going to see again, somebody I'm never going to hear from again. So that's where I'm at with it at this point. But anyways, I still have to go back and share, what happened after I left Montana. Before I left Montana, I went to the Indian reservation, and after I left Montana, I was reconnected with Bill, and it's just really interesting how a lot of the visionary state stuff unfolded. So again, to bring it back to center, I've been going through visionary state. This is how it's unfolded. This is how it's affecting my life. And so I love talking about it. It's just one of the most interesting things I've ever seen happen in my life is discovering the spiritual stuff. It's a form of extraterrestrial communication. So people think you have to go on a spaceship. Actually, spaceships are just for show. If you're for the reals, the aliens don't do that for you. But in my case, they're showing me a different variation of communication, and I'm totally excited now. This is where people might think I'm out to lunch, but for those of us who do take it seriously, and when it comes to psychic awareness and all this stuff, it's the evolutionary direction that we're heading in, that we should all eventually become more and more psychic. And that's what Genesis P-Org has been striving to present, is that psychic awareness is the future. It is an evolutionary step, and it needs to be self-determined, that people have to, it's called self-evolution. When you realize how things work and how you can make things work better, then you start to apply self-evolution. And so this is where, I'm really ironing out my psychic abilities and, how useful or not useful. And I just feel like so far this hasn't been very useful to me if it's been tying up all my time and I don't get the end result, which is to be able to connect with Bill. But, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of other important lessons that it had for me about life and love and all that good stuff, along with the actual extraterrestrial communication being provided. I haven't had it happen in a very long time, but I prophesied that I could have these happen some more. And so I also like to share out my stories about what has happened, what I understand, because that way, if you're somebody who is involved with me closely and you do like hearing this stuff, next time I go to visionary state, then you're going to be one of the people that I'm talking to. You already know my history. And so that way, when I start to go to visionary state, I really need to have a certain few people in my life who understand what I'm talking about. Because I was told that I'm going to see what we call Armageddon. Now, Bill Lieb and what he works on, if you look at a lot of the subject matter, it really sounds like end times, and and some of the other artists out there like that. We're going to be experiencing World War III. We're going to be experiencing a dystopia, that life is not getting better on Earth. If you look at how it's coming down, it's not easy to be hopeful when you look at all this potential, right? So what we need to do is develop the courage and bravery to face life as it comes at us, because it could be peaceful. It might not be anything they said it was, but it's always been kind of looming over us that we have this end time scenario. The biblical prophecies are coming true, and everything. Very strange anomalies have been occurring, and so I think the best survival tool is instinct, intuition, and psychic awareness in a practical sense. The most important thing we can do is have a type of clarity to allow any information that's coming through us, and that way it needs to have clarity. You don't want to have false discernment and stuff like that. So that's where it's a very difficult lesson in discernment as to, is it the right thing to do to make an effort to reach out to Bill Lee, because a lot of people are like, don't do that, that's crazy. Other than, he hasn't really said anything against it, but he's not really coming forward and be like, I'm really excited about this too, Jody. Thanks for, he doesn't seem that excited about it. He seems to be more aloof, like, I don't really know what you're talking about, but thanks for being a fan. Yay, I don't know. So, I mean, it doesn't really feel like, anything's gonna happen with him. But anyways, I really appreciate him for being nice to me all this time, and he was never the person to chew my ass out. There's been all these other different people, they've said things to me that have just really been hard on me, and like, you know, they're right to some extent, you know, from their point of view, they're right to some extent, but that's why I've made all these videos to explain myself, because I don't think I'm just crazy, you know. I think that I'm pretty sane. I think that I've been a very safe and responsible adult with a childlike personality. So, you know, I'm turned 49 going on 20 here, you know, like I am experiencing the symptoms of aging, but I still have a very youthful mind. You know, I've never been married, I've never had kids, you know, I've been just like not in very many relationships. So I feel like I'm still kind of fresh and young to that extent, but at the same time, I'm just getting to the point in my life where I feel like I do need companionship, and I need to figure out, you know, how I'm going to go about that. And so Rosie and Gary, you know, again, bringing up my friend Rosie from the Visionary State, we connected, and she taught me a lot of important values about life. She never encouraged me to give up on Bill Lieb. If anything, if I were ever to make the connection with Bill Lieb, actually, I think that all the time I've spent with Rosie has taught me to be a more gentle person, to be more understanding, and how to help people with their needs, and try to like learn when to put my needs aside, you know, like when, you know, when you're trying to help somebody, you don't want to be telling them your problems if they're having problems, that type of thing. So, you know, like somebody's got enough problems of their own. Like, you know, I was telling Rosie about my pain, and she's like, "Oh, you're talking to the wrong person, Jody." She's like, "My back is broken in 3 places." So I'm like, "Yeah, I like broke my toe a long time ago, and it kind of bothers me." It's like, "Yeah, well, I broke my back in 3 places." So, you know, when you're trying to help people in life, sometimes you just can only, you know, keep your thoughts to yourself and just be easy on them and stuff like that. So I think Rosie taught me to be a much better companion than I would be otherwise. So like when I look back at 98 or 2007 when I didn't connect with Bill Lieb, for example, that's kind of okay. It was probably a bad time for it, but like, you know, I really don't know exactly what his mindset has become, you know, like if he's probably changed a lot since I seen him last, you know. And so like if he was somebody like Rosie, you know, that was just happy to see me, just somebody that liked having me around, like, you know, it doesn't have to be my new boyfriend or anything. I feel like I almost wish I could offer him the same, you know, companionship, and just kind of, you know, kind of like what Rosie taught me to do. But it'd be a lot more fun to hang out, because Rosie's cool and everything, but she just, you know, I've always wanted a friend like my dad that knows about music and stuff. Like I know Bill's like he's got a bigger record collection than my dad's, and I'm pretty sure if my dad went to his house and thumbed through all the stuff, he'd probably have like all the same stuff in there and then some, you know. So it's just kind of cool meeting somebody. To me, Bill just seems like a very familiar person. That's why I think I like him. Why, you know, what do I like more than anything? That he's familiar to me. I remember him from a long time ago, and I think I've known about him since before I heard Frontline Assembly. In fact, it was kind of off-putting, you know, to me in a positive way, because it's just like he's too advanced for me, you know. I just felt like he's too old, he's too advanced, he's never going to appreciate me. So I just feel like it's off-putting in the sense that he's never really going to appreciate me, you know. And like, what's he, you know, I've always thought this way, like, you know, that's why in 98 I needed to have one more vision to push me to write him, and it's like, you know, it's like, here goes nothing, and sure enough. So I've always thought, you know, I shouldn't doubt it. So I've always had to do this with a lot of self-doubt. Like, he's never going to appreciate me, and that's pretty much what everybody else wants to tell me. Like, you know, that it's a waste of time, he's never going to appreciate it. But it is what it is, and I do believe in karma. So for whatever reason, this all had to happen for a good reason. And it's been a valuable learning experience for me, and I don't know, like, if Bill's even aware of what I'm talking about. But if he ever tunes in and he kind of goes through it, you know, all my videos are there or whatever, you know, if he ever took the time to just really try to figure out what I'm saying, maybe he'll appreciate it too, and, you know, maybe he'll benefit for something that I've said, you know. So at the end of the day, like, I don't really want to be a problem, but I'd rather just like to know that that whatever I've done was the right thing to do, and that and if it's been any benefit to him to hear from me, I'd appreciate hearing back from him that has been. At any rate, I don't want this video to go too long. It's going to take me all day to upload this. So this has been my experience going to Frontline Assembly in 2007. I saw half of a dream unfold, and then later I'd see the other half unfold. And I can't wait to tell you guys, so hang in there and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye now.